Have you ever retyped a simple message 5 times and still couldn't hit send? You stare at the screen, fix one word, then another, then the whole thing feels wrong, and suddenly an hour is gone and you've sent nothing. Or maybe you don't start at all. You're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect mood. You keep waiting, and life doesn't wait with you. If that's you, breathe. Today, we're going to talk about why perfection is suffocating your life, and why Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who learned meaning in the darkest places on earth, believed there's a clear way out. Let me start with something simple. Perfectionism isn't a personality quirk, it's a hidden bargain. You tell yourself, if I do this perfectly, I'll finally feel safe. I'll be worthy, no one can hurt me. But the bargain never pays. Why? Because perfection doesn't exist, and the moment you reach for it, your nervous system senses the impossible. It tightens, it stalls. Frankl would say, the problem here isn't your willpower, it's your will to what? Most of us are trying, without realizing, to fill a meaning gap with flawless performance. Frankl survived concentration camps. In that world of unspeakable suffering, he discovered something almost defiant. Even when everything is taken, one freedom remains: to choose our attitude, to aim our life toward meaning. He didn't say life is easy. He said life is asking you something. In every moment, a question. What is the meaning here? Not how do I look? Not how do I compare? Meaning. Now, when you live for perfection, you aim at the wrong target. You aim at appearance instead of contribution, control instead of responsibility. And strangely, the harder you aim for control, the less control you have. Frankl saw this with patients who tried too hard to sleep, or tried too hard to be calm, or tried too hard to perform. The more they tried, the worse it got. He called this hyperintention, a pressure that chokes the very thing you want. Have you felt that? The more you want to sound smart, the more your words tangle. The more you want to be confident, the more your hands shake. The more you want the project to be brilliant, the more you avoid it. That's hyperintention. And under it is fear. Fear that if the thing isn't perfect, you are not enough. Frankl's answer isn't lower your standards and don't care. It's deeper: change the axis of your life. From how do I avoid mistakes, to what am I called to serve here? From how do I control outcomes, to what responsibility can I take in this moment? Meaning, not perfection. Purpose, not polish. He had 2 tools that sound simple, but work like quiet medicine: paradoxical intention and dereflection. Let's translate. Paradoxical intention is this: instead of fighting the symptom, you deliberately exaggerate it. For a moment, you aim at the thing you fear on purpose. I'll try to stutter. I'll try to be awkward. I'll try to fail. Why? Because it breaks the panic loop. It mocks the tyrant in your head. It's not recklessness. It's freedom from the trance of control. Dereflection is the second tool. In perfectionism, all the light is turned inward. You monitor every sentence, every gesture, every pixel. Dereflection turns the beam outward, away from self, toward the task or toward another person. Not how do I seem, but what needs doing. Not did I impress, but did I help. Imagine this: you need to send a proposal. Your perfection voice says, it must be flawless. Frankl's approach says, who is this for? What do they need? What is the one useful thing I can give them in the next 30 minutes? Then do that. Ship the useful thing. That's dereflection. And if the fear spikes anyway, smile at it. I will now try to write the most awkward first paragraph possible. Type it. Laugh. Then write what the person actually needs. That's paradoxical intention. But you might be thinking, that's cute, but my stakes are high. If I send something imperfect, people will judge me. Of course they will. People judge. But let me ask you a sharper question. Do you want to live as a statue or a human being? Statues don't get judged. They just gather dust. Human beings move. Movement leaves marks. Frankl believed meaning appears when we accept that life asks for us, not our marble version. Here's a shift that helps. Perfection chases immortality, meaning practices fidelity. Perfection asks, will this last forever? Meaning asks, am I faithful to the task, to the person, to the moment? Faithful doesn't mean flawless. It means you showed up and did the next honest thing. Let's give you a handful of practices Frankl would recognize. First, the one useful act. When you feel stuck in the perfection loop, pick a concrete human being or a specific need and do one useful thing for that need in 20 minutes. A paragraph, a phone call, a skeleton outline. Stop at 20. Send it if it's safe. This breaks the trance of someday. Second, the 90% day. For one whole day, aim on purpose for 90%, not 100. Set 3 tasks. Do them well enough to be true and helpful. Then stop. Notice the anxiety that rises. Smile at it. Tell it, we're practicing life today. The goal is to retrain your nervous system to trust that finished and faithful beats perfect and imaginary. Third, the mistake quota. 5 small, safe imperfections on purpose, before noon. Wear the shirt with a tiny wrinkle. Ask a naive question in a meeting. Post the draft with 2 sentences less polished than you like. Not to be sloppy. To discover you are not dead when people see the real you. Paradoxical intention in daily close. Fourth, the other person lens. Before you start, write the name of one person who benefits from your work at the top of the page. Keep asking, what would serve them? That's dereflection. It melts self-consciousness into service. Fifth, the suffering switch. When something goes wrong, pause and ask Frankl's question. What attitude is life asking from me right now? You can't fix everything, but you can pick an attitude, courage, patience, humor, humility. That choice is meaning in motion. If you try these, something quiet happens. You stop bargaining for safety and start living for responsibility. Responsibility is different from control. Control says, I make everything obey me. Responsibility says, I answer the call. One creates panic, the other creates dignity. Let's talk about the fear underneath. Perfectionism is often a story about love we didn't receive the way we needed. Somewhere inside, a voice whispers, if I get it perfect, maybe I'll be chosen. Frankl knew this ache. He also knew that love and meaning come when we turn outward, when we choose to love someone or something beyond ourselves. When you act in service of a person, a craft, a cause, or even in courageous acceptance of unavoidable pain, you become bigger than the fear that grades you. Try this Instead of asking, is this good enough? Ask, is this honest? Instead of, will they approve? Ask, will this help? Instead of, will I embarrass myself? Ask, am I brave? These questions pull you out of the self-spotlight and into reality. They are small doors that open into meaning. There's another twist Frankl exposes, anticipatory anxiety. It's the dread that shows up before the task even begins. You think, what if I fail? And your body answers as if you already did. The antidote isn't to argue with the what-ifs. Your body won't buy it. The antidote is to gently step into the task with a different posture. I am allowed to do this poorly while I learn. Say it out loud. And then, paradoxical intention. Let me try to fail artfully for 2 minutes. Watch what happens to your muscles. They unclench. You get curious. And curiosity is the opposite of panic. Let me give you a real-world example. A musician terrified of playing live because her hands shake. She tried breathing techniques. She tried perfection. Nothing worked. A Franklin-formed approach. Before stepping on stage, she tells herself, "Tonight, I will try to shake even more. I will aim to give the audience the shakiest performance." This sounds absurd, but the pressure breaks. She laughs. On stage, the shakes come and pass. Why? Because she's no longer fighting herself. She's playing to give, not to impress. Dereflection, paradoxical intention, meaning over perfection. You can apply the same move to writing, speaking, dating, interviews, parenting. You're not pretending outcomes don't matter. You're choosing to serve something larger than your image of yourself. And what about standards? Should we abandon excellence? No, excellence and perfectionism are not the same species. Excellence is love in detail. It grows from meaning. Perfectionism is fear in disguise. It grows from the dread of not being enough. One gives life, the other steals it. Here's a small, concrete ritual. At the start of your day, ask 3 questions. Who needs me? What needs doing? What attitude will I bring? Write the answers in a sentence each. Then, at the end of the day, instead of asking, "Was I perfect?" ask, "Where did I answer?" Even in failure, you can answer. Especially in failure. You'll still feel the old pull. That's normal. You can't kill the perfection voice. You can stop obeying it. Think of it as a well-meaning but confused guard dog. It barks to prevent danger. You thank it. You don't hand it the steering wheel. Quick pause. What's the one area where perfectionism costs you the most right now? Leave it in the comments. If this is helping, subscribe and share so someone who needs it finds it. Let's go deeper into dereflection. Imagine your attention like a camera lens. Perfectionism keeps it zoomed in on you, your flaws, your tremors, your imagined audience. Dereflection zooms out. It frames the task, the other person, the world beyond your skin. A practical way to practice. The one listener rule. When you speak or write, speak to one person, not to a crowd, not to people on the internet, to a single human being whose face you can picture. What would help them? That question makes anxiety smaller and love bigger. Another tool, the shoulder switch. When you feel paralyzed, picture 2 chairs. In one sits your perfection voice, arms folded, listing everything that could go wrong. In the other sits your meaning voice, quiet and steady. Ask them both one question. What is the smallest true thing I can do next? The perfection voice will offer a thesis. The meaning voice offers a step. Take the step, then ask again. Now, about identity. Frankl emphasized that a person's dignity isn't in their outcomes, it's in their stance toward life. In the camps, people were reduced to numbers. And yet, he saw moments where someone shared their last piece of bread or lifted a joke that made others smile for 30 seconds. In that instant, meaning appeared like a flame in the wind. This is not sentimentality. It is the hardest realism. When you cannot control, you can still choose. And that choice is where your life lives. So, what happens when you make a mistake? The perfection script says, hide, disappear, punish yourself. Frankl's script says, face it. Take responsibility. Make it right if you can, then use it. Tragic optimism. The idea that even in tragedy, there's a seed of meaning we can cultivate. Not because pain is good, but because you are more than pain. Try the 2-letter apology. When you mess up, don't vanish. Write 2 letters. The first to the person affected, simple, specific, without self-hatred, offering repair. The second to yourself, also simple, specific, without self-indulgence, offering responsibility. Here is what I will do differently next time. Then do it. Watch how your nervous system relaxes when you treat mistakes as teachers, not verdicts. And what about the future? Perfectionism says you must predict it. Meaning says you must meet it. You meet it by building a path of honest acts today. Frankl loved a line from Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. If your why is to be flawless, life will be unbearable, because every how will bruise you. If your why is to serve truth or to love well or to build something useful, then the how can be rough without breaking you. Here's a 7-day experiment to reset your compass. Day 1, set a 20-minute timer and complete one useful task at 90%. Send it if safe. Day 2, ask one naive question in a conversation where you would normally pretend to know. Day 3, do a small, kind act that no one sees. Day 4, deliberately write the worst first draft for 2 minutes, then continue without editing. Day 5, when a mistake happens, make a direct repair within 24 hours. Day 6, take a walk and name 5 beautiful, imperfect things you see. Day 7, review. Notice where you felt most alive and commit to repeating that move 3 times next week. This is not a productivity hack. It's courage training. You may find that the grief inside perfectionism starts to surface. The grief of time lost. The grief of opportunities left on the table. The grief of being harsh with yourself for years. When it comes, don't push it away. Sit with it. If you can, sit with someone. Frankl would say, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. Sometimes the meaning of grief is simply to say, I will not abandon myself anymore. I will become a shelter for who I am, not a prosecutor. Let's talk work and craft. Earning a living in a world that celebrates the pristine image is hard. But excellence grows when you allow honest iteration. A painter who never hangs a painting because the edges aren't clean will die with a studio full of ghosts. A coder who never ships because there might be a better architecture never learns to build. A parent who won't let a messy conversation happen in the kitchen never gets to hear the truth of their child's heart. Let your life hang on the wall. You can improve a thing that exists. You cannot improve a fantasy. One more practice, the 1-to-1. 1 minute of paradoxical intention before you start. I will aim to do this awkwardly, then 2 minutes of ugly action. Move your hands, not your thoughts. Then 1 minute of dereflection. Ask, who does this serve? How can it help? Cycle it a few times. You'll be surprised how quickly you produce something real. Fear of judgment will still show up. Try this line when it does. Let them think, not angrily, calmly. You are giving permission to the world to be the world, while you choose to be you. Your worth was never meant to be rented from strangers, and if you fail publicly, remember, nothing important in your life happened without risk. Even love, especially love, is a risk. Frankl didn't ask, how do I look? He asked, what is life asking of me now? Ask it with him, then answer with your feet. Too close, let me leave you with a vision. Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, stand by a window. Notice the sky, whatever color it is. Whisper, I am not a statue. Then ask, who needs me? What needs doing? What attitude will I bring? Write the answers, then live them. When the perfection voice returns, and it will smile, thank it, and keep moving. Little by little, you will feel the shift. Less self-surveillance, more service. Less choking control, more steady responsibility. Less bargaining for love, more loving. Perfectionism says, be a god or be nothing. Meaning says, be human. And bring everything you have. You don't owe the world a flawless performance. You owe the world your presence and your courage. In that presence, your life becomes a quiet rebellion against fear, against numbness, against the lie that worth is earned by spotless outcomes. Your life, imperfect and faithful, becomes a lighthouse. And lighthouses don't need polish to guide ships. They need light. If you remember nothing else, remember this. There is a space between the urge to be perfect and your next act. In that space, choose to serve, choose to answer. That's where meaning lives. And meaning, not perfection, is what will carry you.